Good morning. 2 months since its first outbreak, avian influenza is still lingering. The latest case found in Gwacheon, a city just outside the capital. And today is White Day and the men's turn to treat. Around the country, men are scurrying to buy sweets for their sweethearts. Get a look at the booming dessert market. K-pop sensation SHINee kicked off its world tour with a flashy opening in Seoul. We'll take you to their explosive concert on the Shining stage. And get away from the urban madness with temple food dishes. Low sodium, low fat, and high nutritional value. See the options with nature's flavors on Korea Today, Friday, March 14th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Welcome to Korea Today on this Friday morning. I'm Ju alongside Kim Min-jung and Kim Young.
Good morning, everyone. Which flower do you think represents spring? Well, Gallup Korea asked this very question to some 1,000 Koreans, and most people think forsythias represents spring.
Forsythias?
I disagree. I think azaleas
blossom in the south, right? So
right.
I would say cherry blossom.
Cherry blossom was one of the most popular answers as well. 40% thought azalea or forsythias, and 18% thought azalea, as well as 18% who thought cherry blossoms represent spring.
So nearly 80% of the respondents picked these three flowers that represent spring.
All right, and springtime is near, and we are going to see some of these flowers blossoming in the near future. But things are not looking so flowery or rosy at the moment in Korea-Japan relations. In our top story, following high-level talks between Seoul and Tokyo earlier this week, which yielded very little progress on mending strained ties between the two countries, Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Thursday expressed deep regret over Tokyo's latest remarks about the victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery.
Japan is inflicting another wound on the surviving victims of sexual enslavement by denying its military's direct involvement, which it had previously acknowledged in the Kono statement.
The Kono statement is a landmark apology Tokyo issued in 1993 to the mostly Korean victims of sexual slavery in World War II. But Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said at a press briefing Wednesday, the same day high-level talks took place, there was no evidence Japan forcefully recruited the women, seen as a sign of denial of the statement. Seoul's foreign ministry demands Japan take sincere steps to settle the historical issues that have plagued Korea-Japan relations.
Another case of bird flu confirmed, this time in Gwacheon, Gyeonggi-do province, a few kilometers outside of Seoul. Quarantine officials have confirmed the bean goose found dead this past weekend had in fact contracted the avian influenza, but they are trying to verify whether it is the highly pathogenic strain. Once confirmed, areas within the 10-kilometer radius will go under a lockdown, including Seoul's Gwanak, Seocho, and Gangnam districts, which will in effect put a ban on the movement of poultry. But authorities are taking no chances and have closed off one of the biggest theme parks in Korea in the vicinity, the Seoul Children's Grand Park, where some 60 rare and endangered species are housed. The park had just reopened earlier this month after a month-long closure due to the bird flu scare.
And to make good on the promise to continue negotiations, the government and the Korean Medical Association may begin talks as early as today to prevent the ongoing strike from escalating. The Ministry of Health and Welfare said on Thursday that unofficial talks were underway to coordinate schedules, following Prime Minister Chung Hong-won's proposal to find a compromise by March 20th in order to prevent the 6-day strike. The Korean Medical Association of Doctors are protesting the government's plans to implement telemedicine and for-profit subsidiaries, saying that it could undermine public health, and are also calling for healthcare reform. The Medical Association began its walkout on Monday with a one-day protest.
A sweet growth trend in a market that's becoming increasingly popular. Korean cuisine is well known for its fiery hot dishes, but more people are developing quite the sweet tooth. That hankering for pies, cakes, and pastries is something that more and more businesses here in the country are banking on. And we connect live to our reporter Shin Se-min for more on this trend. Se-min, where are you now?
Yes, Chinju, I am at a dessert store in Itaewon, Seoul, where many of the shops just like this have been feeling the dessert craze in the market. And actually today here in Korea is a white day where men offer females sweet treat, so you can expect people waiting in line later here in the day. And also, these individual stores aren't the only ones that have been feeling the dessert craze.
Chocolate cones filled with choco balls, a pearly whipped cream cake with raspberry on top, and itty-bitty bite-sized candy. This is but a small sample of the types of dessert items that are literally selling like hotcakes in Seoul these days. Inside a department store in the capital, long lines form in front of the dessert shop as soon as it opens, all people waiting for a taste of sweet bliss. Ranging in price from $4 all the way up to $50, consumers open up their wallets all day long without hesitation.
I hear that this dessert is popular, which makes me want to stand in line and wait. I came out a little early so I could get a piece before the store runs out.
Sometimes I spend less on my meal and just get desserts because these are a little pricey compared to the size. I even replace my meal with desserts sometimes.
These true customers are hardly alone. Desserts are the latest food craze in Korea. Sales in the dessert industry came in at nearly $84 million in 2013 at this particular department store chain. That's more than double the total from just 4 years earlier. And for the first time ever last year, its sales of dessert items surpassed the total sales of meals that are ready to eat. Korea's leading dessert cafe franchise, which is owned by one of the nation's conglomerates, says its business has been growing by 20% on average each year since it opened in 2002. Mom-and-pop stores are also getting in on the act. Pastry chef Garrett Edwards opened his own pie cafe a few years ago and has since expanded his business to multiple shops in Seoul. He says he's noticed a more recent change in the way Koreans are accepting delicacies from other nations.
It's new, it's interesting, and I think that Koreans are wanting more authentic items from outside Korea, and they've been outside, so they know what authentic is. So they are able to come to us, have an authentic pie.
But authenticity isn't the only reason people are being drawn in.
More are willing to spend extra on things they categorize as valuable or worthy enough to invest in, such as pieces of cake, while also demanding cheaper prices on the things we buy daily. For instance, green peppers and potatoes.
Professor Yeo also said that as the economy remains sluggish, more people are consoling themselves with sweets. Although the industry is expanding, the popularity of certain desserts often shifts with the times. And for that reason, businesses are busy putting their heads together to come up with ideas for the next popular dessert item. In the meantime, consumers are busying themselves, enjoying what's currently on the shelves.
And as you would expect from a rapidly evolving market, the turnover rate in department stores for dessert shops is actually extremely high. For instance, many of the shops in department stores only are leased for 6 to 9 months, showing how fast-paced the industry is. Back to you, Jinju.
So it should be a must for these dessert shops to keep themselves busy to come up with new items to satisfy the rapidly changing appetite of the customers. Thank you, Se-min, for that report. That was our Shin Se-min reporting live from Itaewon.
Happy Friday morning. Now let's run through the front pages of your newspapers. And a very bunch of stories this morning, and we'll start with Chosun Ilbo here. Look at this headline right here. The headline reads, it's regarding President Park Geun-hye's regulations, repeated remarks on regulations, and the headline reads, President says, bring regulations not yet eased to me. And I mentioned this earlier on in the week as well, but President Park has used increasingly strong expressions to stress the need to ease regulations, calling them a tumor or the matter of life or death situation. And here in the sub-headline here, it says the president may begin to look closely one by one at companies with investment projects that find themselves facing obstacles from existing regulations. Now, the paper says that the president no longer finds meaning in performance reports of government departments with vague words like such and such percentage of the regarding areas regulations have been eliminated. What she wants is something more specific, outlining who invested what amount because regulations were lifted. Now, however, no such reports have been taken so far, so we'll have to wait and see how the president's regulatory reform unfolds with time. And now let's go on over to Gyeongyang Shinmun for a look at this headline right here. It's about the regional elections, and the title says, Regional Elections, a Turning Point for Progressive Parties. The subheadlines explain that with various scandals and happenings taking place within the political realm prior to the June 4th local elections, the support of or approval ratings for progressive parties are falling, while a bipartisan structure is emerging with the coming about of the newly made coalition party. Thus, the paper finds it to be a critical time for progressive parties to find some sort of turning point with their existence, as they stand at a crossroads before the elections take place. And now let's quickly go to 중앙일보 for a look at this image right here. It's of the president. As you can see, President Park's sharp military salute. So you can see she is saluting firmly. This is at the 30th graduation ceremony of the Korea National Police University. And at the event, she told the police to be strong against illegal acts, but kind and warm to our public. And now let's go to 동아일보 for a change of topic, going back to the regional elections. Once again, the main headline reads, free of charge pledges for the sake of elections, not free, but from taxes. Now, with the regional elections coming closer and closer, there's fear for campaign pledges that promise events to happen free of charge when actually the cost will be derived from taxes. The subheadlines here, they give a couple of examples. Kim Sang-gon, Gyeonggi's education chief, bidding for governorship, pledged for free of charge bus rides, but in fact, a budget of 1 trillion won per year is needed for that to operate, and that's more than $900 million per year. Also, there are issues of impracticality regarding the reconstruction of Yongsan, a pledge by Representative Chung Mong-jun of the ruling party running for Seoul mayor. Thus, the paper says there must be a pay-go or pay-as-you-go system applied to these election pledges, as is applied in lawmaking. And finally, let's look at some business news here on Mail Business newspaper. It's exciting news for those of you wanting a more diverse furniture market here in the country. The headline says, annual sales of $40 billion. Now that's referring to IKEA. IKEA's entry signals heated battle in furniture market. A global furniture company, IKEA, will be entering Korea in 8 months, and IKEA is preparing to offer up to 50% lower prices based on do-it-yourself or DIY furniture, providing easier mobility and independent production and distribution network. The domestic furniture market has already seen the start of a big bang as the imminent IKEA's entry is reshaping purchasing trends in furniture. So we'll look forward to IKEA's launch here in Korea. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for Friday. And coming up are the stock numbers from Thursday.
Time now to get a check on the weather. Now, we talked about the flowers blossoming. I hope the weather is warm enough for the flowers to blossom.
That's right. Temperatures are getting warmer, and just in time for the weekend, what kind of conditions will we be expecting today? We'll go to Chun Sung-cho.
Good morning, Sung-cho.
Good morning, Sung-cho.
Happy Friday, everyone. Today is White Day, and it seems like Mother Nature is actually playing on words. Yesterday, it truly was a white day in the mountainous regions of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces. Up to around 20 centimeters of snow fell in those regions as heavy snow advisories were issued, and a little bit of more snow is expected in today's forecast. On the other hand, the mercury level in Seoul, currently at 1 degree Celsius, will gradually rise up later in the afternoon, and it's going to stay on the warm side throughout the weekend. But keep in mind that the temperature swings between mornings and in the evenings will be pretty big. And since it's a white day today, why not go ahead and enjoy the beginning of spring by actually eating some sweets and desserts. Let's go ahead and take a look at the temperatures around the peninsula. There's not so much variation in the highs of major cities nationwide today. Seoul, Daegu, Busan, Jeju, and Daejeon's highs are all at 9, and Gwangju and Gangneung are at 8. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'm Chun Sung-cho, Korea Today.
It's been a confusing week for everyone involved in the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 that seemingly disappeared into thin air. But investigators from multiple countries trek on, and this morning we're hearing that the search area could be expanded to the Indian Ocean. Eunice Kim joins us for more on this story. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning, Min Jung. Right, this time that announcement came from Washington. The White House announced that the possibility of a new search area comes based on some, quote, new information that has surfaced. Right now, the search zone includes areas on either side of Malaysia and Malaysia itself. But White House spokesman Jay Carney indicated that the new information was not necessarily conclusive and that the U.S. was consulting with international partners on how to proceed. Now, yesterday, Malaysia's transportation minister rejected a Wall Street Journal report which said the jetliner could have kept flying for 4 hours after its last contact with air traffic control, which had cited U.S. investigators and officials. The minister also said that Vietnamese and Chinese search teams failed to find debris where Chinese satellite photographs had shown 3 large floating objects in the South China Sea, adding that Chinese authorities later said that releasing those images was a mistake.
It's been close to a week now. Hopefully something will pop up soon. Now, let's scoot over to Europe, and we've been following this story very closely as well. Crimea now appears to be very likely to vote to join the Russian Federation this weekend, and over at the UN, the Security Council is considering a resolution, correct?
Right. Ukraine's interim Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk is at the United Nations this morning as well to shore up support, and the UN Security Council mulling a resolution to affirm Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity ahead of Crimea's referendum on Sunday. Russia's envoy to the UN addressed the body about an hour ago, saying that his country did not want war with Ukraine. Meanwhile, earlier, German Chancellor Angela Merkel issued a strongly worded warning at Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying that there would be catastrophe if Russia continued its course, as neighbors of Russia would feel threatened, which could mean massive political and economic damage to Russia as well. But no sign of change of course in the Crimea, as we're getting reports that Russia did launch new military exercises along its border with Ukraine.
We'll keep our eyes on that story as well. And last but not least, Princess Diana is back in the news, and now a British editor has come out to say that she had passed on something very valuable. I wonder what that could be.
Right. Well, what's important to a journalist? Contacts, right? Phone numbers. And during a court proceeding in London, an ex-editor on trial testified that Princess Diana had handed him the royal phone book. Now, Clive Goodman, he is a former royal editor for the major daily news of the world. He's in court on charges that he had paid for royal phone books, which he has denied. He testified that he received the book from her back in 1992, explaining that the princess was looking for a, quote, ally to help her show the bitter situation she was in with her then husband, Prince Charles, and had even made a phone call afterward to confirm that he had received the phone book. Well, with that, we'll wrap your look at the international stories we're following this morning.
Still ahead on Korea Today, we bring you updates on the entertainment front this week and take you to the 5-piece boy band SHINee's concert in Seoul as they kick off their world tour. What lies ahead for the group? Denny Hong brings you up to speed.
It's almost like a story out of the movies. A musician receives a letter one day from his biological parents telling him they want to see him and that he has a twin brother. The story of Dan Matthews has been made into a documentary, aka Dan, made by the man himself. He is back in Seoul to promote this documentary and joins us right here in the studio this morning. Good morning. Good to see you again.
How you doing?
You were here last summer, I believe, and you talked about your experience in meeting your parents. And you said at the time that you were too shocked to really absorb everything. How has it been so far? I'm sure you met your parents again this time around.
Yeah.
In fact, your brother is joining us here in the studio too.
He
right?
actually is. He's watching from the side right now.
That's right.
Yeah, it's been pretty. It's just been a huge whirlwind of emotions and things that have happened so far. But ultimately, now that everything's passed, and I've had some time to think about exactly what happened over the summertime, I feel very, very empowered by this new information. I just have this really bright outlook on life now. That I've got this kind of a new start. Yeah, so it's been good.
Okay, so now you've been doing this documentary, and we've been airing it on Arirang TV as well, and YouTube. It's been running simultaneously. Drama Fever. There was also a red carpet event in Los Angeles. So how is all this happening right now? So how are you taking all this in?
It's been really exciting. I think that's the best way to kind of explain it. It's just been very exciting. I've never had so much attention on myself, like, ever, and it's kind of like being at your own wedding, but it's not really like a wedding now. And just all this attention that's on you for ultimately a very positive reason. And so,
tell us about some of the specific examples. Give us some examples of some of the responses that you've been getting.
Sure. Yeah, I think especially from the adoptee community, it's been very positive. I think a lot of adoptees have messaged me and have had really positive things to say about being not that this has encouraged them necessarily to do a search of their own, but they've just been really excited to see content that's kind of related to their story. And ultimately, that's what I really wanted to try to get out of this, is to create something very relatable for a community that really doesn't have a lot of content that they can necessarily take ownership over. So I feel really positive about that, and that I think that they've seen it, and it's generally a pretty positive story too. And I think that it's very a happy and a light story. And so I think a lot of people see it and are really, I think, jazzed by the whole idea. And from the non-adoptee community, it's been really positive too. I think that ultimately it's a story about family. And I think that it's, even if you're not an adoptee, you can kind of relate to the themes that we talk about.
Well, it's definitely an inspiring story for all.
Yeah. And what struck me the last time we met was how self-assured and how confident you are, and you seem to have so much faith in yourself. And you also talked about having self-identity crisis, just going through that, other adoptees too. So what kind of message do you want to deliver to them through your documentary? And also just I'm sure you've had your own ups and downs in your emotions as you were going through this making of this documentary. And what gives you the strength to carry on at times, at those tough times?
I don't know, I'll be honest, I don't know what kind of confidence you're saying, but
we see a very confident man, right? Wouldn't you agree? Very happy too.
Mildly outspoken at the same time. And very expressive as well, so tell us.
I think deep down there's still that uncertainty because everything's still so brand new. And maybe I'm I'm good at, I guess, hiding it. But generally, I think, to answer your question, the ultimate message is this issue of identity, and ultimately what makes us, in my relationship to this rock, this family, this friend of mine, how am I related to all these different things, and how do I identify as each of these things? If I was raised by a Caucasian family in America, am I still Korean? How Korean am I? And ultimately, it's been a really interesting story of self-discovery for myself. But ultimately, it's about identity, and how do you identify in this crazy world of so many things going on?
So you're still in this middle of the self-discovery phase, right? So where do you see yourself identity-wise right now?
I think that I feel a lot more Korean than I did. I definitely feel, especially now that I'm back in Korea so soon, I feel like that I've become a lot more confident with my saying that, oh, okay, I identify as being Korean American, versus before I never identified with being Korean American. I identified with being Asian American or something completely different, but never Korean though. So I feel a little bit more confident saying that.
Okay, you did say a little thing about confidence earlier on. You're saying you don't know where Minjung sees your confidence, but you know, it speaks numbers. You also are a musician, right? So what do you have planned ahead in your music career?
You've just released an album, I believe.
I did, yeah. I released an album, Stuntman. It was inspired by the trip to Korea and meeting my biological family. And it speaks a lot about the identity issues, though, and the self kind of discovery that I'm going through right now. We just released that, and a lot of the music is in the documentary. A lot of the documentary is in the music, and so it was kind of a companion piece. Very excited about that.
Okay, and you've come here with your brother, and what's one thing that you found out about him that you find surprisingly similar, like exactly the same, twins, right?
I think the most surprising thing, this is where I think that it's nature versus nurture, is the idea that we're both really creative people, and I have no idea where that comes from. So like I had a lot of questions to my family about where does this come from, because he's really into hip hop and he actually raps too.
Oh, wow.
And so that was probably the most astounding thing, is to see that even on different continents, it was something that was in us from the beginning. So I'm very curious where that came from.
Yes, it runs in the family.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know where it came from my mom or dad's side, but it's
so
exciting.
I'm curious when the collabo is going to come out between you and your brother.
That would be so neat.
We actually did a song together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's on the album. He recorded something on his iPhone and then sent it to me, and then we mixed it into the song.
All right.
So that's pretty exciting, yeah.
All right. Well, next time he can join us on the couch, hopefully, yeah?
Both of you together, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dan, for your time this morning.
Thank you guys so much, yeah.
And you can catch the documentary on Arirang as well as Hulu and Drama Fever and YouTube. Thanks again.
Thank you.
In today's news sum up, we have a surprise guest at a K-pop showcase in Austin, Texas. Our Kwon Lina is at the digital room to tell us more. Good morning, Lina.
Good morning, Jinju. Yeah, that's right. Lady Gaga, the queen of pop herself, showed up at a K-pop event, and of course netizens went crazy. Where is this? What happened? I'm here to give you the reasons exactly why. Let's take a look at the results. Of course, it was at number 2. This is what happened. It was a pleasant surprise for spectators at an event in Austin, Texas. Lady Gaga made an unexpected appearance at a showcase dedicated solely to K-pop. An annual music festival entitled South by Southwest is being held until this weekend in Austin, Texas. And Lady Gaga is scheduled to give a talk as one of the keynote speakers at the festival and to take the stage for a big over-the-top finale. Well, it just so happens that South by Southwest held a night themed with K-pop music, and Gaga had to urge to soak it all in. She raved about it on her Twitter account as well. Apparently, she was spotted grooving to Hyuna's bubble pop and listening to Jay Park's freestyle rap as well. High praise for K-pop and a really good day for K-pop or K-music in general as well. All right, we had a lot of art story come up by 5 p.m. You can take a look. 15 Cheonju International Film Festival is taking place from May 1st to May 10th. You can buy your tickets online now. And Kang Soo-jin, Sergeant of Korean National Ballet's La Bayadere, of course, opened its doors yesterday. It's going on to the weekend. You can take a look at that, and you can get tickets online as well. All right, the last story that I want to talk about today is the verdict that came out yesterday on the former top police official. The former National Police Chief Cho Eun-ho was sentenced to 8 months in prison for making defamatory remarks against the late President Roh Moo-hyun. In a meeting with police officials back in March of 2010, commenting on the motive of Roh's suicide, Cho Eun-ho claimed that the police found a large sum of money in another bank account belonging to the late president, compromising his integrity. While the Supreme Court rejected Cho's final appeal against the verdict handed down by 2 lower courts, saying that he posthumously defamed Roh by spreading false information without any hard evidence. That story is put to rest. In the meanwhile, we're going to turn to the last search results late in the evening at 8 o'clock. We had this resurfacing of an old story, if you may. It became a relevant topic because Girls' Generation mentioned it on a late-night program entitled Radio Star. Yes, by 8 p.m., a particular top 100 list had resurfaced from last December. We're talking about the 100 most beautiful faces of 2013 list compiled by an American film critique websiter, TC Candler. All right, if you didn't have a chance to see the list yet, a lot of beautiful ladies are making this list. I mean, take a look. You see people from all over the globe. And of course, if you didn't have a chance to see the list yet, After School's leggy model turned singer Nana was at number 2 spot. Girls' Generation lead vocalist Taeyeon at number 9 and Jessica on 20th. My Love from the Star heroine Chun Ji-yeon landed on 43rd place. Who was at first? The Oscar-winning French actress Marion Cotillard. No doubt, these women are all stunning. I mean, you see gorgeous women from all across the world, and I just get a natural smile looking at it, and I'm a female anyway. But one thing that I've been questioning is who exactly is TC Candler? I mean, I went to his website and I found that he is a self-proclaimed movie critic, and he does have reviews of many different genres of movies, but who exactly is he? How is he qualified to make these judgments? Well, I suppose all men have eyes, so you can make the judgment yourself. List or no list, all the women are beautiful, they all deserve praise. That's all from me. I'll see you back on Monday.
Now, for die-hard fans of Formula One, the 2014 Formula One season is kicking off in Melbourne this weekend, but we won't be seeing the Korean Grand Prix this year. SJ joining us in the studio now. Good morning, SJ.
Good morning, guys. Now, of course, this is a great weekend for all the race fans out there. I know, Young, you had a chance to check out the Korean Grand Prix last season, right? And I think you would be one of the people that would agree that this is one of those sports that you have to actually be at the venue to really enjoy it.
Oh, yes.
But despite all that, of course, things are not really working out at the Korean Grand Prix. In fact, despite the number of money that was invested in the Korean Grand Prix, we're seeing a lot of empty seats. We're seeing a lot of people not come out, and that's been the problem right now. In fact, the ticket organizers have been having a hard time selling these tickets, and despite the fact that it is one of the biggest events out there, they're not seeing a lot of people show up at Yeongnam. Considering the fact that it is it's not a mainstream sport. We have to see more and more people come out, and the lack of interest from the fans, you're not going to get the people coming out right now, which is one of the reasons why there was the Korean Grand Prix left off the schedule this season.
I know Young's really bummed out about this one. What about the next season? I understand that the event organizers are trying to prepare for the next season as well, so maybe some
the
luck?
track is a beautiful track.
It is.
It's a shame to see it just go to waste.
Exactly. I mean, I think the event organizers right now, they're trying to use this year, the entire year that they have off, to prepare for it. But you have to understand, they've lost about roughly $180 million in the 4 races that they have. And in fact, the president of Formula One management, Bernie Ecclestone, even came out recently saying that the race might not even happen next year as well, if you consider a couple of factors. One, there's going to be an election next June in the Jeollado province, and that might change it up. Also, the citizens in Yeongnam have negative feelings towards the event because they feel like, well, could use that money to improve on the area. So unless there's some major sponsors funding the event, and they don't at the moment, I doubt there'll be the Korean Grand Prix next season as well.
Now, the sheer distance to Yeongham from the capital as well as other parts, it is kind of a burden to travel that far for maybe just a one-day event, or it's actually a 3-day event, right? But at the same time, the
and
parking...
accommodations apparently was another big issue.
And parking, these are some of the issues that I noticed that when I was there. But what are some of the changes that they can make or that they want to make so it will work out for hopefully maybe 2015?
I think venue is the most important thing right now. And you mentioned that some people do go there for the final races, but for die-hard fans out there, it is a 3-day race. You have the practice races, the qualifying races, and the final races. And the thing about Yeongham is, there's not a lot to do there aside from the race itself. So you want to be, you want to have the Korean Grand Prix at an area where it's close to Seoul or where it's major attractions nearby. And I think, to be honest with you, Incheon is a great place to build a circuit for the Korean Grand Prix if they were to move the venue, of course. I mean, there's a lot of undeveloped land there and you can easily build a circuit. And I know you guys had a chance to cover Seongdo on the Thursday show, and I think that's a developing city that could be used for street racing, for example, like the Monte Carlo Grand Prix. So as long as there's an airport nearby and as long as there's a major attraction nearby, I think that's one of the factors that you could put into to help out the Korean Grand Prix.
Hopefully they'll work it out because it's such an exciting event.
It is.
It's loud but exciting.
Earplugs are definitely not required. It's not recommended. It is required. I found that out.
Okay. Well, thank you, SJ, for this report.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And still ahead on Korea Today, Matthew Chung will join us later in the show to make some temple food using ingredients that best reflect the taste of nature. It's becoming a more accessible and alluring choice in taste. A beautiful presentation. Matthew Chung stirs up an easy-to-make temple food dish, so don't go away.
And it's time to catch up on the latest entertainment news, and it's about Korean stars making waves overseas. We're talking about guys that are having concerts and world tours and more. And we're going to take a quick look through some of the stories.
First up is the explosive popularity of actor Kim Soo-hyun in China, who has won over the hearts of many fans with the drama My Love from the Stars. The Chinese variety show he was on, called Super Brain, is said to have paid Kim almost $500,000 for his appearance, with over 600 security guards and a private jet just for the Korean actor. And with this, his agency is also experiencing a skyrocket in stock prices due to his popularity. Hyuna from the girl group 4 Minute has just wrapped up a shoot for the well-known American comedy video website Funny or Die, alongside Rita Ora, the British singer-songwriter and actress. The website has 78 million Twitter followers, and a lot of people are looking forward to seeing the collaboration between the two. The Hallyu band CN Blue has topped the charts with its all-live DVD One More Time in the first week since its release, and it also seems like it can't stop with its popularity overseas. Dongbang Shingi also put out a new album in Japan called Tree just last week, and it quickly claimed first place on the daily Oricon music chart, setting a new world record once again. 21CL and Big Bang's G-Dragon have joined in on famous DJ Skrillex's new album. The track Dirty Vibe showcases the impressive rapping skills of the two artists, full of swagger and character.
And as we mentioned earlier, today is White Day here in Korea, and on Valentine's Day, according to Korean traditions, women give men chocolates, but on this particular day, White Day, men are supposed to give sweets, but none from Young or Denny, who joins us this morning. But you do have some sweet, you do have some sweet news for women as well. Nevertheless,
I do.
SHINee.
That's right. So SHINee, they are just kicking off their third world tour, and so this kicked off in Seoul last weekend. And they're going to be having their, of course, South American and Central American leg later on. So let's take a look at this kickoff to their tour. It's more dynamic and full of fun than ever. SHINee's third world tour concert. We take you behind the scenes of SHINee World 3 in Seoul. With this concert held just last weekend for 2 days at the Olympic Park in Seoul, SHINee kicked off its global tour.
Excited fans. Wow.
Cold excited
many
fans.
of them too.
At a special press conference set up ahead of the concert, there was heated competition for coverage within the media.
팝콘이라고 정했습니다. 그 이유는요, 팡팡 뛰어서 놀자라는 뜻인데요. 처음부터 끝까지 계속해서 뛰면서 즐길 수 있는 콘서트인 것 같습니다. 이번 콘서트가 샤이니 5분만 아니라 팬분들도 상당히 칼로리 소모가 심한 콘서트여서요. 네, 준비하고 계셨으면 좋겠습니다. 체력 비축해 두시고요.
하나, 둘, 셋, 넷! Finally, the show begins, and just like the group members promised, what first grabs people's attention is the sheer scale and unique ideas put on stage.
Wow, that's so explosive. Look at that scene, that stage.
Makes you feel like a teenager.
Makes me want to scream.
Outstanding showmanship.
Wow.
샤이니 월드 투어 중에서 단연 1등으로 힘들었습니다. 그럼 막내인 태민 군은 어땠나요?
일단 뭐랄까 저희가 준비한 만큼 되게 열심히 준비하고 격렬한 안무도 많은데 힘들기도 정말 힘들지만 그만큼 반응도 굉장히 이제 팬 여러분들이 반응이 뜨거워서 좀 재밌게 잘 했었어요.
맞아요.
It was not only their choreography, but impressive live singing spanning across a wide range of 29 songs that kept their fans on the edge of their seats.
And the wardrobe changes, wow.
Crazy. But what most pleased the fans was the group's attention to detail, with 20,000 seats all sold out, including those with difficult viewing. The members spread out across each corner of the stage to make sure their fans had a good view wherever they were.
We should have sold glow sticks in the front.
And made millions of dollars. Wow. What a scene.
It is, sure is. Elaborate stage as well, it's great.
With sweet songs, along with some quirky performances, there was a lot there for the fans to enjoy and indulge in. With this concert as its grand opening, SHINee will embark on its world tour in April.
한국에서부터 시작하죠. 남미터도 가고 굉장히 많은 나라에서 많은 공연을 펼쳐드릴 것 같고요. 다른 앨범을 여러분께 보여드릴 날이 멀지 않을 것 같으니까요. 많이 많이 기대해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 앞으로도 좋은 모습 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Now, handling this packed schedule to meet with fans face to face, I see why SHINee is gaining a lot of popularity around the world.
Well, when it comes to them, obviously, so the 5-member group, and I think one of the things that people enjoy about them is that there isn't a designated exactly main vocal. In this sense, each member can take on different elements of it. As we were mentioning, kind of, there is a lot of costume changes, and so one person can stay on stage, do a solo performance for a brief moment, and then everyone else can get changed and come back on. So with this versatility, they can bring more dynamic variety onto the stage performances too.
Okay, so right now there's Central and South America that's planned, and are there any other areas that they're going to be visiting?
They are. So first off, on April 4th is when they kick off their Central and South American tour. So we have Mexico City, we have Santiago, Chile, Buenos Aires in Argentina. And then after that, they begin their Asian leg going to Taiwan, Shanghai, and Jakarta. So a lot of fans get the opportunity to see them live.
A busy schedule.
That's right. Their schedule is busier than a world diplomat. Probably compared to like maybe Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is probably traveling as much as they do.
They probably has more people show up at the concert than the venues, right?
That's true too. Thank you, Denny.
No problem.
Thank you.
Coming up next is this week's K-pop chart. Check it out.
And Matthew Chung joins us here today for a look at some great temple food dishes, low in cholesterol, low in calories, low in sodium, low in all the bad stuff, and high in all the good stuff.
Exactly, and high on flavor in particular. So with temple food gaining more and more popularity nowadays, people are turning to a more natural diet, and they're really watching what they eat. So let's find out more about temple food. I'm going to cook up a couple of recipes, but before we do, let's learn a little bit more about what it is. Surrounded by fast-paced and stress-packed modern-day life, more people are seeking different ways to improve their well-being around the world. And in the midst of what's a leading trend that has now put its roots down in the food industry, temple food brings out the tastes of nature as it is. To learn more about temple food, I head to a place where you can get a sweeping view of Korea's Buddhism history, which has continued on for 1,000 years. At this exhibition, a vast variety of events and artwork representing traditional Buddhist culture are on display.
So the artwork as well as the food, right? That's all has to be there.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, it's the temple food that draws in the greatest crowds. From the ingredients to preparation, it reflects nature untouched. And not only that, the beautiful presentation is something that can't go unnoticed.
It's all really beautiful and it looks delicious.
That's why the first place I stop by is where you can experience giving alms. In Buddhism, cooking rice and offering it up is called gongyang, and serving it in just the right portion is known as paru, coming from the name of the bowl that it's served in. That's why eating food served is called paru gongyang.
That's where my problem lies.
And there are special rules behind paru gongyang.
We self-discipline ourselves with paru gongyang. No one speaks, and we eat the same food together in the same area, and never allow any leftovers.
After you've finished your meal, you clean your bowl using the water you've been served with ahead of your meal. This also symbolizes cleansing and emptying yourself as you go through self-discipline.
I always feel very thankful for those who provided the food. It also allows me to stop and think about myself and my surroundings.
This is the main event of the exhibition, which is at the Temple Food Competition. And today is for students, ranging from high school to university. Those who dream of becoming future chefs have all come together.
Or experts in the field know more about temple food.
What's notable about temple food is that it's all vegetarian without artificial seasoning. Meat-free dishes are known to keep the body healthy from lifestyle diseases. Reflecting this as a trend, vegetable-based temple food dishes are receiving more attention. Healthy dishes that bring out the best in the tastes of nature. How about taking some time out to cleanse your body and soul with some great temple food dishes?
You know, it just looks so nicely presented over there in that report that we just saw. So we have some of the food that's here, but we're also going to make something right here by you, right?
That's right. We're going to go with a really classic dish. It's known as muikseon. And it uses mu, which is Korean radish, or actually more accurately, turnip. So I'm actually going to start off this dish. So Young, if you can hand me that wooden spoon, please.
All right. I'm pretty good at this, passing things around. That's all I'm good at.
It's really one of the most important jobs there are. Not really, but you know.
Well, in the area of surgery, I think that would be pretty important.
That's right. I mean, I think every doctor needs his sexy nurse. Is that, is that what it is?
What is that?
What I heard is that white radish is really good for your throat, especially at a time like this when the season is changing.
She's always worried about her throat.
No, you have to be. I mean, especially this time of the year, and especially with a voice such a, as nice as that one, you really do need to protect it. And white radish will help out with that.
What's happening here today?
You know what? It must be this turkey oil, this Perilla oil. That
Shinji, you want to trade places?
No, it's okay. I'll stay here.
All right, so what we're gonna do is just cool this pan down a little bit, and we're gonna take our white radish slices that have already been sliced up.
Okay.
And here we just have some regular cornstarch.
Well, how thick would you slice it? I mean, because you have it maybe about at 2 to 3 millimeters.
That's right. It's right at about 2-3 millimeters, or about right at about 1/4 of an inch. So in the pan it goes, and we're just going to cook these off very briefly.
How brief is brief?
Briefly, it's about a minute or 2 per side.
Okay.
All right, there we go. If you can hand me a couple of paper towels, please.
All right.
There we go. So we're just going to cook this off, and while I'm doing this, let's introduce just the rest of the recipe. We have some pyogo mushrooms that are going to go in there, as well as some peppers. So as a result, it's not 100% a temple food dish.
Okay.
There is a little bit of seasoning, there is a little bit of spice going on. So it's not something that you'd find necessarily at a temple, but this is something you can do at home, with tastes that really match today's consumer.
Okay, because unless you're like a hardcore temple food enthusiast, then sometimes you want a little bit more flavor in there. I do understand that. So, okay, so while that's cooking, what are we doing next?
If you can hand me a spoon. Just a regular old spoon will do. We're just going to give these a little flip. There you go. And you can see they've taken on just a little bit of color.
Okay, I see. It almost looks like a potato, basically, with the nice browning on the side. But,
I mean, that's kind of what you want, because they, at the end of the day, they both are root vegetables. All right, so this is almost done. So while this is just finishing up, I just want to talk about these dishes up front. So
these are some of the winners, right?
That's right. These are some of the winners from the general population. So these aren't ones that are made by professionals, but rather just by everyday enthusiasts of temple food. So on the right, we have dishes such as a buckwheat crepe. And then in the middle, you have dishes that are made from tubu. And then on the left, you have dishes that are made from tteok, which is a type of root vegetable. All right, so now this is just about ready. So if you can hand me that plate.
So you could actually heat this plate up, right? And it's not hot today.
Yeah, it looks kind of like your traditional Korean cast iron plate, but in fact, this is actually a glazed ceramic on the outside.
Okay.
All right, so to this pan, we're just going to add a little bit more oil. And we're going to get our mushrooms going.
So mushrooms you can actually cook really quick, right?
You can, or you can cook them slowly depending on what sort of texture that you want. If you kind of want to retain a little bit of that spring, if you want your mushroom to kind of bite back at you.
And then look at Minjung and Jinju over there.
We're eating eagerly.
If you're not in the studio, then you can't tell, but the smell, the aroma is just filling up this space.
Especially with these two particular aromas, both 표고버섯 and 들깨 oil, both of them are super earthy. So as a result, it really does kind of smell like spring in here.
I think it was the 들깨 oil that's making this good smell.
Right? It's just got that incredibly savory character to it. All right, just a little bit more oil in here, and then we're going to add our peppers.
You're going to have to hurry a little bit for their sake.
Can you hear the stomach rumbling from all the way over here? Don't worry, we're almost finished.
Our patience is running thin now.
All right. So last thing we're going to do is just add just a little bit of seasoning. So in goes in just a little bit of soy sauce.
Ooh, I love that.
It's that sound that you want, right?
That's right. You
Maybe
want
add
to
a
hear
little
that
bit of
sizzle.
flames or something. That might be fun.
And just a little bit of gochujang in there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that everything is all incorporated. Now, if you could pass me a fresh spoon, please.
All right.
And we can get this guy plated up.
I thought we weren't using metal spoons anymore.
Oh, the metal spoon is one of the most handy tools you can have in the kitchen. All right, so cook it until it's all dry. Flick off your heat. And just plate it just like so.
It's so simple. I mean, even like a kitchen dummy like me can really fix this up in a jiffy. Or maybe you just made it look really easy.
No, because the whole thing about temple food is about simplicity. You don't want to muddle these flavors too much. You don't want to add too much seasoning. Instead, just keep it nice and simple and tight. All right, and that ought to do it.
Okay, so let's go take it over there because Minjung and Jinju are not. Oh, they're coming over here.
Well, because the invitation never came, so we invited ourselves.
We were going to take it over there.
Thank you. All right, if you could just make way for me also. Wow, it looks pretty fancy as well. Jinju,
go ahead, Jinju.
Fit it in this.
And yeah, it might look tight, but it really is the antithesis of fancy.
Is it
it's humble. It's simple and.
How is it?
I didn't know the temple food could use gochujang, but with the gochujang in it, it tastes really good, spicy.
Yeah?
It's temple food for cheaters.
Temple food is usually pretty bland, so if you want a little more kick to it, I guess that's when you put in the gochujang. Huh?
Exactly. It keeps all the best parts of it while modernizing it just a little bit.
Yeah. That sounds great. I see you made 3 just for us 3.
None for you.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Matthew.
That just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We will see you back here on Monday morning.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.